well, I'm not getting used to how I'm living down here.
Evening, and welcome back to the Cognitive Rampage. I'm your host, Adam Lowry, as you know. Those of you that got the advertisement about tonight's show, or the promo about tonight's show, you know the two guests I'm having on the show, at least what they do for the most part, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We'll chat a little bit and talk about what they do. You know how we talk on the Cognitive Rampage, so you never know where it'll go, so bear with us too. It should be a good time. If you want, go ahead and introduce yourself, but we're talking here, so just forget they're even there.
Okay.
So forget we're even there, so no worries.
Go ahead.
I'm Susan Brenner. I'm a psychotherapist, and we just moved down to Florida to kind of get involved in our adventure therapy change of, I guess, venue compared to what I was doing at home.
Now, I'm going to dive into adventure therapy in a minute, but...
My name is Steve Brenner. Used to be an environmental consultant. And
Okay, now that has one of those, like, sketchy titles, man.
yeah,
Environmental
engineer,
consultant?
more or less an
It sounds
engineer.
good.
Ah, okay.
I dealt with hazardous materials, hazardous waste, making sure they went to the proper landfills, things like that.
Hey, love it.
You get a degree in some kind of environmental science or geology, and what goes on from there. I originally started in here in Florida, moved up north, and now I'm back in Florida for the first time in a long time. But met my wife, and we discussed our interests. I met her because I am also a raft guide in West Virginia, raft climbing, mountain biking.
Now, is it a company? Is it your company?
No.
What's the whitewater rafting company in Virginia that you
It's
did?
actually a company that a friend of mine started from high school.
Yeah.
And then now it's merged into a big conglomerate. It's called Adventures on the Gorge now.
Okay.
It's one of the premier outfitters in the eastern U.S. in West Virginia. They have a beautiful resort, and I've been guiding for them for 28 years.
How do they find the place? How do they get if somebody's looking for the place to find you?
They have a great website. Their website.
What's the website?
AdventuresOnTheGorge.com.
AdventuresOnTheGorge.com.
Right.
Okay.
And it consists of 4 river companies that merged. And through that merger, they added more adventures, zip lining, hiking. They have a bridge called the New River Gorge Bridge. You hike across it's called the catwalk underneath it. That's pretty cool. Like I mentioned, mountain biking, but climbing. We have a New River Gorge is known as the Grand Canyon of the East. And just a beautiful, I call it my playground. It's been a beautiful place to go do things and have fun and get away from the life I had in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is environmental consulting.
I was going to say, all right, you're going to have to walk me through this story.
Yes.
I mean, we go from environmental corporate suit
Right.
to, I mean, I love it. We're still saving the environment, so I'm all there.
Sure,
you
that's
know.
what I was for.
What was it? What day?
Well, I guess the main connection was that I went whitewater rafting with my son in West Virginia.
Okay.
And then that's how I ended up meeting Steve.
And you were from Ohio too?
Yeah. We actually went to the same high
We went
school.
to the same high school.
But
No
we're 6 years apart, so we never knew each other.
Never knew.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So to meet him in West Virginia, and then we're actually from the same high school. You know.
What are the chances?
Who
No
the fuck,
coincidences.
right.
It's a story still continuing.
So it's taking what we love about the adventure part, and then adding the therapeutic, perspective.
So you were doing
combining that.
therapy where at?
I was in private practice with Dr. Moss. He's a psychiatrist in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I just got tired of sitting behind a desk. My body hates just sitting. And the more I started doing it, like I guess a year and a half ago, really started researching adventure therapy and got involved in different organizations that were doing it. We traveled to Denver and just a bunch of different states and went to different seminars. And I shadowed a lot of people. I did a lot in Chicago too, shadowing people. And then just started putting it together, like how can I make this move from this to what we want.
Yeah.
Then we decided on Florida, well, kind of 2 different reasons. One, my daughter kind of went to go to school in Florida, so hey, in-state tuition, right?
Yeah, sure. Where'd she go to school?
Well, right now she's still in high school. She's a senior
Where?
at Lakota East High School in Cincinnati.
Okay.
She's living with my mom right now. So just by checking out the different areas, when we started searching, we found Adventure Lodge in Port of the Islands. And so that's when we started looking for condos down there. We found that, and then I started coming down here just researching, and next thing I knew, I ended up on you guys' doorstep too. So it was
That story I thought was cool too, but I'm gonna keep sticking with this one. So you go to West Virginia. How long ago was this?
4 years ago, because we've been married for 2 now.
With the concept in mind of somehow making adventure therapy happen.
Right, just trying to combine those two.
All right, so you were already on the mission to do so, and then show up at West Virginia.
Yes.
Proceed.
And that's the story.
All right, so
Okay.
I gotta read the raft story. Come on, man.
What makes the story? I meet her. I'm the trip leader. The trip leader is the guide that meets the customers. We have trips that vary from 20 to 50 people.
Yeah.
Various from all over that part of the nation. I guess most of our customers are from the Northeast and the Midwest. And the trip leader has to look at these groups and kind of fit them together. You go down to the river where the rest of the guides are getting the rafts ready.
Okay.
That's the way rafting is in the eastern U.S. Out in the west, it's a little different. And so you fit your people. You kind of combine the groups to make them fit with your guide. You're looking at your roster. This guide's pretty mild. This guide's pretty tough. You know, and you're trying to speak to your customers.
Now what are you reading?
I'm reading.
Being a therapist kind of myself, it's that initial meet.
First thing you do is look right in their eyes. You can see fear. Yeah, I know you can.
Oh yeah, I got you.
And you look in their eyes, and you see, well, are they worried? Are they? You start asking questions. First thing you do to break the ice, and people love this, is ask, where are you from?
Yeah, sure.
Where are you from? Because I've been all over this country. Chances are, I've been there. Chances are.
You link with something.
Yeah, and you link somewhere. Hey, how about you find some kind of attraction at that town? Chances are they've been there too, so you broke the ice. And then you start speaking about, well, if they have their children with them, you have an age limit, but on certain rivers. But you say, oh, done this before, so your kids swim well, or they have a swim team,
you
things
feel
like
them
that.
out.
So you feel them out, and you go to each group, and you're trying to feel them out while they're all signing up for the liability waiver.
They don't even know they're being observed.
Yeah, they got it.
So you were feeling it with Jake I and what happened?
Kind of feels like kickball, where you're like, all right, you pick her, you take him.
So here's a lovely woman. And
that was left over.
The instance with Susan was, here she is with her son, just two, and I recognized the name. And it's a long story here is her previous husband I knew, and he was a few years older than her, but a few years younger than me. We both wrestled, so I knew him, but he wasn't
You were
my
better
group.
though, right?
I was older, yeah. I
You're
guess
better.
at the time. Yeah.
You just have to make that clear.
Yeah, okay. Like you, I played football as well. Okay. So I figured out that she went to Fort Spring. I'm like, put her on my raft. Well, sure. Yeah. And as we started talking and I got to get to know her, I'm like, this woman has her act together. She wants to be outdoors. She wants to do things that I like to do. And that's, I'm 50 years old. Well, 49 or 48 at the time. We didn't get married till I was 50. So I was 48. And at this point, I've been through many relationships. And they've never worked out because there's always been this issue of, well, you're gone doing rafting and kayaking and doing this all
How
weekend.
dare you take care of yourself?
Right. How
dare you take care of yourself?
Right. So I found somebody that wanted to go to West Virginia with me as much as she could. And
Actually, my kids are involved in West Virginia now.
Yeah.
Jake, last year, he's 19 now.
Yeah.
But he went down there to live on his own. We got a little camper to live in with the running water, which was good for him.
Right.
And so he's a zip line guide down there.
He works for the company.
Now I got up to where we met to a point, and I got where you're at, trying to build this idea, this concept.
She threw it at.
Now take me back to the desk.
Oh, okay.
And what got you from behind the desk? Was it a day? Did you just say fuck it? Was it like?
He's never like
Well, I mean, did you
day.
Jerry Maguire it and go, "Who's coming with me"?
Oh yeah, now that's a good analogy. However, no, ours is different. Before we even got married, before I even asked her to marry me, we discussed what we wanted to do. She wants to travel. She wants to do all these outdoor activities.
You were
She
behind the
wants to
desk when you were guiding still?
Boy, I worked.
Yeah, we just guided on the weekend.
I was a
you did
weekend guy.
both. Now I'm with you.
Guy. Okay, I'm a environmental consultant during the week.
Ah,
in Cincinnati.
Guiding doesn't
Batman on the weekend,
Right,
businessman during the week.
exactly,
I
right,
got
exactly. So yeah, I was Bruce Wayne, the Batman. That's
I
a
got
good
you.
analogy as well. Holy cow.
Really?
That's what I do, man.
So yeah, so she, she's, as a therapist, well, what is it you want to do with the rest of your life? I said, I don't want to
So
do this.
she asked you questions
She
like
said,
you're
yeah,
approaching
she was-
her.
I'm a life.
Right. Well, I always had a problem though with him, especially dealing with a lot of asbestos stuff. And my first
Yeah,
husband
a lot of what
died
I
of
know.
cancer. I was like, I don't like that. We could take some risks.
Yeah.
I've jumped out of airplanes. That's a whole different thing. I'm putting myself
You
in
can
risk
see it.
versus
One, you can see it. I did a little
Right,
thing
right.
with my brother. Actually owns a company, an environmental company,
Okay.
and a design build company together. He has a new product coming out, this BioPlanet. We won't get into that, but it's amazing stuff that he does environmentally. And I worked with him years and years ago doing asbestos removal, but we did all military bases, etc. So VCT
A
stuff.
lot of work.
Yes.
Government has produced more and used more of it than almost any entity in the country. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's in most buildings still. So what the company I worked for at the time I met her dealt mostly with demolitions, not construction. Demoing
That's what we did.
power
That's what
plants.
we did.
We We went in and assessed them. We just assessed. We wrote up the contract, identified it, quantified it, the materials, whether it was lead, whether it was asbestos, whether it was PCBs.
All right, how
to get them out of the buildings.
Far away?
Oh, there's still a lot in the country, but we are an industrialized nation that does take care of its waste better than most industrialized nations. You got to understand that. We do a pretty good job. EPA has a purpose, and following the EPA rules does work if everybody works together.
You're in Southwest Florida, right?
I know.
Right. I'm with you, 100%. Yeah. We're like out here and doing recon, Southwest Florida world.
Right.
Yeah.
But
how do we dispose of our waste? That's gotta.
Asbestos, where'd it come from? The ground.
Okay.
It goes back.
Okay. Where are we burying this shit at now?
There's certified federal landfills that only can accept asbestos materials. That's the big. That is driving the industry as far as a lot of remediation demo. Is asbestos. It's in 80-something% of the buildings built before 1983.
Yeah, but where's there any landfills for that here? When you only
so
far before you get in the ocean.
Certain states don't have any of these landfills. They have to be a federally certified landfill to accept that waste.
Does Florida have any of these?
I think it may. I'm not sure. I've only worked in the Midwest and in the East.
I feel better that you moved here.
When I was here in
tells me
Florida,
we're okay down here.
When I was here in Florida, I dealt with the underground storage tank issues. We were taking tanks out of the ground and putting new tanks in, drilling wells around where the old tanks leaked. And then that dried up. Florida did a good job, cleaned it up, but it kind of went belly up. They had a reimbursement program. One reason I left Florida was the work went up the coast, and I went to North Carolina and Maryland.
That's the thing with construction, and I know from my brother in a short time, is you got to go where the work is. You may find yourself on West Coast, East Coast, you go where the big jobs are.
So I went where the work was and left Florida, and I didn't want to leave, but it was supposed to be a better opportunity. So to go back to what we were doing is she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I'd rather guide in any kind of water environment. I'll guide whitewater, I'll guide ocean water. I want to get out behind the desk. Most of my work was not behind the desk, but the report writing was. But it's just a time, I'm now 53, just turned 53, and I wanted to do something different. If you do
Love that, man.
If you do nothing different, nothing changes.
Right.
So we
Thank you.
And we all talk about taking that risk,
Yes.
And it's
stepping out
about
there.
risk. And it's about, well, are you confident enough in yourself to go do this? Well, if you aren't, then you need to build that confidence.
Walk me through the talk in your own mind of how you came to this decision to monkey bar leap this shit and just say fuck the desk. I mean, you're already doing it, but I'm interested.
Again, my wife, I married a therapist. That's one thing that helped.
So what helped you was marrying a therapist. Remember that.
A change.
I mean, do you hear that?
Yeah, a change was going to happen eventually, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. When I met my wife, when we were dating, I started getting the gears rolling. I need to get out of this.
She kind of matched your gasoline.
Yes, exactly. Like you said.
I was better at like kind of aligning it,
Yeah. And I will get out of this, and I will do something else. And what is it you want to do? Well, we can go in West Virginia and do something, or we can go where you want to go. And I told her she never lived anywhere else but Cincinnati. I said, I'll go wherever you want or where you decide to. I was leaning toward Texas myself, but she says, I love Florida. I love the beach. We'll go back to Florida.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Smart man.
We'll go back to Florida. So.
And ideally, once we really get it established here, what we would love to be able to do is during the really hot months here is go back to West Virginia and then do a little joint venture with them, with that company.
Adventures on the Gorge.
But there are, right now, they're all recreational. But I could bring a medical component to that. And there's other companies that have done that on bigger scales. What's the one that's in North Carolina? Hold
on here. I'll think of it.
Outward Bound. But they do a lot of stuff with the VA and that kind of stuff as far as PTSD, and then doing more of the exposure type therapy. So they're doing experiential or adventure therapy to really, allow the individuals to really back
and
up.
Outward Bound is very popular with the VA. A lot of soldiers
doing a lot of good things.
They do a lot of good things with getting the soldiers back home and getting to grounded again.
So it's taking kind of their concept but spinning it with Adventures on the Gorge.
Yes, but if you've ever been whitewater rafting, it's an exhilarating experience. It's very exhilarating. It's fun. It's challenging depending on what level you have. We have something for you. West Virginia, as far as the eastern U.S., has probably the best whitewater. You go west, there's a lot of neat rivers too in Colorado.
Well, it's extreme to thrill-seeking type sports.
Extreme, yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's really gotten, it was very popular. It's kind of lost a little bit of its popularity because so many sports it challenges it now.
Sure.
You got zip lining, you got skateboarders doing crazy
Wakeboarding,
things,
all kinds of
all that.
Right.
So it has a lot more competition than it had back in the 80s and 90s.
But it's offering more now too, though.
But we offer more as well.
I want to get back to the conversation between the two and kind of walk through, being the cognitive rampage, I like to go in the mind, you know,
Right.
and I kind of walk us through that experience and how long did it take you to work together? What were the thoughts back and forth? What were the fears back and forth? You know, walk through that journey.
We're still growing together. We're still figuring this out.
There still is a lot of fear going on right
There's a lot
now.
of
And now when you say this out, I don't think we covered enough longer about what it is you're doing. I know we're
Right.
building up to there. So if you would, what is it you're building?
You start.
Right. Well, initially what I'm starting right now is just starting the groups. And I'm starting more with hospitals, just to kind of get that established. And that's more basically, honestly, is for income.
Doing
Doing adventure groups.
Go more
Right.
into the adventure
So it's something that's
therapy.
more established. And Steve's going to be a part of that too, because he's great at like setting up the different activities or getting the different equipment we need, whether it's ropes or whatever, depending on what challenge we're having the individuals do.
Take me through it. I'm a client, and there's 6 of us.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
What, like, depending on the size of the group.
Okay, 6 of us, and do we need to be homogeneous? Do we have to share same problems, or?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, I like that.
One, it really depends. Like, for example, if we are doing a hospital, I'm gonna do assessment of most of the individuals to begin with, just so I know what are we really dealing with.
Yeah.
Because I also don't do anything that's going to trigger anyone either. You know, so he's kind of do an assessment.
I guess you got to know that, are they physically capable?
Exactly. Age group, all that kind of stuff.
Did you have an assessment for that? Do they get? I don't know.
Well, I do. Like I do basically kind of get an intake that you would do typically.
Yeah,
but
sure.
maybe I might ask more questions around what they're physically able to do
Yeah,
and things like that. Just kind of get a feel too, even intellectually, where they're at. You also don't want to put too much of a challenge again. They're all like, we can't even figure it out. So where's the challenge? You know.
Gotcha.
Okay. So there's hundreds and hundreds of games and activities we can do within this.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think outdoors. As far as, let's say, a great one I like to use an example with is with addictions. Let's say we take them on a really challenging hike.
Mm-hmm.
But I preface it because it's all about briefing and debriefing. That's really where the processing comes from.
Mm-hmm.
We do things every day that we never sit down and process.
That's true.
So there's no growth out of that.
Right.
So it's taking, let's say, for example, so we're working with individuals with addictions. We're going to go for a hike. But I go ahead and tell them ahead of time, we're going to go on this hike. But I want you to think about where you're at with this addiction and the challenges you have with the urges or whatever that might be. So when you hit certain spots within this hike, if it's challenging, think about pushing through it and what makes you do that or whatever it might be. Okay, so let's say we get to this hike, there's times where everyone's like, they push on through, okay? When we get up to the end, it's more like to sit down for a minute, now let's debrief, you know? So you were in that challenging spot where you couldn't, make it up that hill or what it might be. But then there's something that pushed you through it. What was that? You haven't break that down, and how do we apply this then to everyday life?
Almost.
How do we have this apply to your addiction? Right.
Creating a solution-focused brief therapy moment.
Exactly.
Almost by putting them in the moment, getting that here and now moment, and even at the exhaustion, being able to pull that out. I love that shit.
And it's layered so
Wonderful.
much too, because you do it where it's higher challenges or higher risk.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes you might want lower risk, but then more complications as far as thought process. It really, there's different ways of doing it. Again, it really depends on the group.
Yeah.
And it's also not repeating different things, which we would talked about too with even the groups at, maybe I shouldn't mention where, but is, if you're always kind of doing the same type of groups all the time, it kind of gets just normal.
Yeah.
Where if we're always challenging different things you're not used to, it takes you back or might make you think a little bit more about that.
And the patients become parrots when you do the same group.
Exactly. And they know what you want to
parrot.
hear. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no real challenge or growth out of that.
Agreed.
So that's where I'm really finding that the adventure part, it's awesome. As long as, but like I said, there's the briefing and debriefing is what's so crucial. That's where the growth comes. Because let's say there's someone who's always pushy and always the one in charge. You guys put them into an environment where else they step back and they let Joe take over. Like, oh really, Charlie? So what happened there? Well, Joe was better there. Really?
There's some humility that almost begins
right.
to almost...
And then understanding that sometimes I need to let somebody else ahead of me.
I'm such a fan of challenging the physical to push the mental to a new level.
Exactly.
I'm a huge fan of mind, body, and spirit balance.
That's what I'm... Yeah.
For those that aren't spiritual, emotions, could include in that. But, being a nature child myself, just being in that environment itself is soothing.
Yes.
And then
Well,
learning...
see, that's how we are. Then that's one thing, too. All of us are saying the same thing, is it's our nature is part of us, one of our elements. Now, maybe people who are just totally anti-outdoors, this may not be the perfect solution for them. But I could do tons of indoor activities too.
I would argue them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I could always bring indoors.
Somebody
to
tell me
challenge
you're not an
somebody.
outdoors person, other than maybe you may get sunburn. Come with me for one day. And once you step out of something, I think people fear what they don't know as well. When they lack the competence, there's no confidence. So to step out in that realm. But it takes people like you all, I believe, to get those that think, well, I'm not an outdoors person or whatever, to get them to push them to a place doing, I mean, you can experience a life transformation in a moment in nature. And I mean, that's what we're going for, is that moment.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't help, like when I met you and how I met you and you walked into the hospital and I read the magnet on the side. I was like, no, and I'll take you back. Before I came into this, I was doing Primal Nature, was the company that I had. And we were doing some pretty exotic trips. And with the same notion.
Right.
So, but the story that helped me, this idea, it's a pretty cool story. I fish a lot in the Indian River up in Cape Canaveral when I lived in Orlando. And I used to wade on the flats out there a lot, red fishing, etc. And so I take my wife with me, and we wade out maybe 200 yards out on a walk flat. And we're just fishing, probably waist high a little bit, a good solid 200 yards from shore. And as we're walking, probably 50 yards between me and shore is a pretty nice size V cutting through the water. And yeah, it's a saltwater crocodile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Aggressive.
They're aggressive.
Much more aggressive.
Salties are.
Yes, sir. And so I see it,
Little fear.
and it happens. Bust a U-turn. Here it comes.
He knows you're there.
Yep. So I grab my wife's fishing pole, mine. I put her behind me. Bite me. I tell her no matter what happens, go. Just go. And when you're on the flats fishing here, you have to slide your feet because of skates, stingrays.
Oh,
So if you walk normal, they'll pop you.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. But I told her, you just go, all right, no matter what. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I crossed the two fishing poles in the water in front of me, kind of across my legs. I don't know what he was going to do. I wanted to get in the way.
Right,
you know, maybe
right.
piss him off. I don't know. And I had just my little fold knife, and I got that unfolded underneath this way, and I crossed the two, like, all right, here we go. And it's coming right at us. I mean, I'm like, yeah, let's ride. But in this moment, I found this calmness, this clarity. Everything moved slower. Nothing was important anymore except just breathing. And I'd never, that freedom in that moment. And it stopped probably 5 feet in front of us. Goes under. I'm like, okay, here we go. I feel a whip on my tail, or I feel his tail whip my leg as it goes by. Swim on. Left me alone.
Salty.
Didn't want nothing to do with it.
You are a fortunate person.
So we wade back to the water quickly. We get back on land. The next day, they had been doing construction on a dock down a canal. And the salty had been aggressive and they can't work. So they come trap it. The next day they trap a 6.5 foot long salty on the ground. I got a picture of it in my pocket.
So there's your.
So that day we went right upstairs. I'm in the condo upstairs and I'm pacing. There was something there. Something happened. I gotta do something. People need to experience that. The name Primal Nature popped in my head and off I went. And it was that. And I had that same feeling, this notion, you know.
Right. I was there. That's the way I could connect. What I do for a living and what I love to do.
When
I
did
love
you
doing
know?
therapy too, but
When did you know it's what you wanted to do?
I know, 'cause I brought the idea to you a while back. I remember even we were going somewhere with Debbie and Gerard. And I was back there. I'm like telling them, I'm like, one day I want to have a company.
Debbie and Gerard. Gerard is another guide. He didn't start guiding until he was 40 something. He got into it later in life and was always a canoeer and became one of our whitewater rafting guides. And Debbie is a woman he's met and is married, his second wife, but later in life. And we share a lot of experience. We go out to dinner.
Right.
And things like that.
Okay, so Gerard's like a good friend and his
Right,
wife.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I mean, they're adventure people too, and it's just so I was just saying to them that I know that this is going to happen. You know, I would probably say it was probably like a year and a half or 2 years ago, maybe closer to 2 years ago. And he goes, "But hey, when you do it, hire me." I'm like, "All right." Which we haven't talked to them guys in a while because I mean, once I really started engaging in this, I haven't really even talked to my family really.
We
I've
have
really gone
a
full
lot of
force in
friends
this.
that are backing us up. They're all up north.
I'm still got to get this day. I almost got your day and almost to your day. When was the day we said, fuck it, this is what we're doing?
I don't know. I got to think about that because I know there was, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We decided that's what we're going to do because we put the house on the market.
We actually were going to do this next year. We actually were going to wait a year. We thought about it, but again, the stepdaughter wants to go to school in Florida, and we said, well, let's just do it a year ahead. Now, the initial day that we started, that we wanted to do this.
That we decided to okay, we've always had the idea, but actually to do it, yeah. I think happened when we were in Vero Beach.
No, we were in Vero Beach earlier this year.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, back in, was it February?
Yeah, to actually execute and say we're going to do this sooner than planned.
I lived in Florida for 5.5 years, from 88 to 94, 6 years. And I was all over the state working. And I worked a lot, didn't get to enjoy the state as much as I wanted to. Never stopped into Vero Beach. Never a day in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped into Vero Beach. We actually got this little resort Driftwood Inn. I fell in love with this place.
I know.
This is the coolest place. Oh, it's old Florida.
I know very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been down for Daytona Bike Week. I ride.
Right. Vero's different.
Yeah.
It's very quiet.
Calm is the calmest eastern shore town I've ever seen as far as what it was.
So we just pull in there for a vacation with a plan?
Yeah.
And we decided then we're going to do this.
Right. Well, I remember paddleboarding out there too, and looking down, and there's all these turtles. I'm like, what the hell am I doing in Ohio? It's like,
come on, man!
Right? So it's like
maybe that was your moment.
Yeah.
I think that
I do remember saying that. What the hell am I doing in Ohio? I get this every day.
And you'll love this. She's coming in on her paddleboard, and there's some good 5-foot breakers coming in on the shore. Really, there was something going on out at sea. But once you got past the breakers, it was just nice swells. And she comes in, she's all excited, she's paddling in. And I'm like, slow down, don't paddle into the breaker, get down on your board.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, she did. She jumped off, and here comes the board. So I go after the board. I go after the board. And it slams down on me so hard. And she was so excited. She comes in with her paddle. Man, I had the most fun I ever had, just paddling with those turtles out there. And she goes, we're coming here. I guess that...
Yeah, I think that is true.
Thanks
for making us fast for that one.
Yeah. That was...
You are on the couch.
Yeah. Right, I know.
On the couch. And my family was there. It was, my brother and sister-in-law, and his daughter came up from... She still lives down in Coconut... a little suburb of Fort Lauderdale there in Broward County.
Coconut Grove?
Coconut Creek.
That's it. Oh, good fighting gym over there. Good fighting gym over there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I lived in Lauderdale for 2 years, and I lived in Boca for 4 years.
Yeah, I know that area well myself. My other office is over there for the other website, mywindowOut.com.
I had an apartment, but I was in it. I was on the road a lot, doing projects. So it was there. I got to have fun there, but again, I was a working man doing my.
And now work is fun, and fun is work.
That's what this is about. Is eventually
you should
hopefully every human being will get to do a job that they love to do.
Mm-hmm. I think it is here.
Yeah.
If the vision is here and fuck it, we're doing it is here, then it is here.
Right. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
I love guiding from the first day I ever
still needs to be all formulated. I know that's going to happen. Now, do I know what the whole vision is? Not totally. We allow a lot of that just to come.
No one does. We can paint a vision for a business plan.
Right,
but for the most part, we can say A, B, C, but B happens to be life. So we can say C is a great... That's why when I do therapy, I don't do goals. I let some of my clients look at me and I'll go...
When you said no goals, I went, I don't know about that.
I don't do goals.
You don't do goals? I do small goals.
Goals are a direction. Now, we can set short-term goals that are specific and time-oriented to reach the long-term goals.
I call it dangling a carrot. I would go after something.
Is life happens in the short term. And so if I set the short-term goal, now sure, we can set them by day, by hour, etc. And I'm with you. But sometimes medical things jump into play. Sometimes life happens.
Sure.
But I think we have the goal, by calling it more of a direction, it focuses us in the path we want to go to, but leaves our options open. Because we may head somewhere like environmental work because we want to help the environment.
Right.
But because you had a goal, I think your goal maybe was just to be happy. Mm-hmm. And maybe your direction was to be happy.
My goal is to be happy.
And maybe that direction ended up pushing you that way.
She made me happy. I found the woman I wanted to marry. Found the woman of my dreams.
Changes your life, man.
Changed my life.
It does.
And I think keep the thing too is helping people too.
But change has to be part of it. If you're not making change in your life, it's like your little picture there. You're stagnant. You're not going to move.
My slogan is "Uncomfortable is where the change is."
Right.
And you have to seek out uncomfortable moments.
Right.
And the more you seek them, the more you grow.
I have patients say to me, and this is so profound, he's like, everything I want is on the other side of fear. And maybe that's a phrase he saw somewhere, but I was like, wow. And I use that now all the time. I ask people too, what is fear? Is it risk? Is it, define that for me. Why are you standing on this side of fear? Because everything you want is right there. Like good.
I love it. I mean, for me, fear becomes the fuel.
Well, I agree. No, if you're more to the adventure stuff, yeah. I want that adrenaline. I want that
even
fear.
in life too. I mean, I think that's why the adventure therapy works. Is because you can see the fear in the physical when you're on a whitewater that you may lose yourself, or whatever the adventure may be.
Right.
Is you get to see the fear and then feel it, but that reminds you that the fear that we have here, we still can see.
Right.
And
that's where you're getting the growth too.
It is. It's the fuel, I believe, that pushes people past those limits. And I don't trust people that don't have fear. I see no fear stickers still sometimes.
Right.
And I'm like, you have no fucking clue.
Right.
You have no clue. I know a few fighters, and I fought a while ago, but these professional fighters that do their thing, they tell you that when they get in the ring, they're afraid.
Yeah.
And they're a fool if you get in the ring not afraid.
Exactly.
Every time I jump in a raft with a group of people, there's still an inside fear, not for me, but for me protecting them.
Mm-hmm.
There's times I've been down rivers.
Well, there's definitely a risk.
You're doing death defying
Give me that
whitewater.
story, man.
Yeah.
Give me that story.
Which story do you want? I have hundreds.
Give me the one.
Okay, the one where closest I came to dying. Okay.
The one.
Okay. I'm his protege. The guy that taught me how to read and run whitewater. He's one of the most phenomenal rafting guides there's ever been. His name's Steve Campbell. He's paddled a kayak from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean.
Holy shit.
90% of it by himself. I've gone out with him and paddled with him at times. But to go back to the story where we went out to Colorado. He and I been paddling together for a few years, and we're 1990. I want to say 1997. Paddled to Colorado. We're going to run the Pine Creek section of the Arkansas River. Pine Creek is their big Class 5 plus section where only so many commercial trips go. But it was actually flood. It was too high that there was no rafting trips on it that day. A few kayakers already died on this river earlier in the year at these levels.
And you said we're going
to raft this. Yeah. we just got done driving 1,300 miles. We got in our van. We pumped the raft
up. We didn't get dressed up for
We
nothing.
had about 4 or 5 kayakers with us that were going to gut this out. We're all from West Virginia. Well, one of the kayakers was originally from Colorado, who's pretty much going, "Oh, we got this down. We're too good for this." And we head down upper in the Pine Creek section of Arkansas, and there's this one rapid called S-Hole. It is the one toughest
What's
rapid.
It's called what?
S-Hole.
I thought you said asshole.
S-Hole.
I'm not riding by shit that says asshole, man.
S-Hole.
Okay, asshole.
So we're in this little 2-man raft we had. It's called a Puma. In this little raft, we've taken over waterfalls previous to this. We've ran a lot of good area waterfalls.
For the viewers, set this Puma raft. We can put it.
It's about 11.5 to 12 feet long. It's 2 cross tubes, so 2 people fit in it. It's called R2ing. R4 is 4 people paddling. R2 is 2 people paddling each side of the boat. Okay. R2ing is it's not a powerful way of rafting because you just have 2 paddles. You're just turning the boat and you're dancing. I call it dancing, but you're finessing it. You're finessing it things. Now there's times you just have to blow over something big. Well, we come down toward this rapid. We've gotten out and you scout a lot of stuff when you have never seen it before. And they said, get out of the boat and scout the rapid. We're looking at the rapid. We're like, yeah, we know the line. We go right. We run left. A big hydraulic they call S-Hole. S-Hole had killed 2 kayakers just a month before. 2 kayakers went in there. They came washed out of their boats. The water is only 44 degrees. It was just ice melt in the top of the mountain on this river probably 2 hours before we were in it. You see, that's what's running the rivers out west.
Mm-hmm.
So we come down, and it's really funny before we got up there to put the boat in, we went to one of the river companies. Steve knows a lot of the people in the river industry. He knew a lot of guys. He's talking, yeah, we're going to go up and run Pine Creek. And they keep saying, they're all saying, no, you know it's running 4.5 feet. So yeah, well, we don't run it at 4.5 feet. We do. It was that attitude. Sure enough, the rapid we were perfectly could have ran it just right, but there was this big wave up above the rapid about 50 yards. And just a beautiful wave. And my goal was to get to the right side of it and then run left. Steve, we're coming down toward you. Steve goes, we can run. Let's go, let's go, let's go. We went up on top of that thing, and that boat railed up. It went over like that. I do what's called a low brace to try and stay in the boat. I come out. Okay, all right. And next 50 yards downstream is the S-hole.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right. So I take my paddle, I throw it. I try to throw it into the boat. I actually threw it over the boat. I climb in, and we're heading toward S-hole. We're about 15 yards before it at that point. Okay, so
No paddle.
he has a paddle. I have a paddle. He's trying to draw it around. He's not getting there. Okay, so the boat goes into S-hole. It's all on video.
Where do we find this video?
It's in archives. I can show it. I can show you this clip someday. It's on video, but I got to get the
video.
one of our kayakers who had just ran it got his video camera out and showed it. It doesn't look good because the video camera's way up high. But anyways, the boat rolls around a couple times. He flies out right into an eddy. An eddy is a calm pool of water. We're away from the current. He's fine. Okay, he gets up shore. I get rolled around. I'm hanging on to this rope for dear life, and the boat pops out, and I'm just hanging on to it. After S-hole is 2 more Class 5 rapids, and then it shallows out, and I'm just hanging on to this thing, and I wasn't going to let go. And the calming, that's all it was. It's just, I'm not letting go. I'll be fine. And I would not let go. I mean, my forearm was so sore after just that event. And then it calmed out, and I mean, we're talking cold water here. But that didn't enter my mind how cold it was until it calmed. And then I'm like, I am cold. So I'm swimming with the boat over toward another eddy. I get to the eddy and I let go of the boat. Half of it was still not in the eddy. It went downstream into the next portion of the river, which is called Numbers, which is a very raftable area. He jumps out of the river, gets out of the river. He flags a car down. There's like 20 people on the shoreline watching this whole thing. Nobody helps.
No one helps.
No one helps. Yeah, it's the rafting. It's that industry. So he jumps into a car with a ranger, his park ranger, and we're heading. And he goes, my friend's down there. I'm sure he's still alive, but we got to get to him before he drowns. And she drives him downstream. They get past the boat. They actually find the boat. I'm up on shore, just sitting there exhausted. My buddies that are in the kayaks, they jump in their kayaks real quick to come hunt me down. And I mean, if I hadn't been in really good shape, I was in great shape. I had just done a triathlon like a few months before. And so if I wasn't in good shape, I'd have been that fit person that died on that rapid that year. But that was the closest, I think. You know, there's other times we've had falls like that, but that was the closest because I did not realize, the thing about water is you have to respect it. You have to fear it. And I think we didn't have enough fear. We were gung-ho, we're tough, we've ran water, we've done all this stuff. And I learned right then and there I still have to have more fear of what I do.
What you said about arrogance too, I think that
we were arrogant.
He said that when he was younger, there's a lot of arrogance, and that probably the biggest thing you probably learned.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
I think any of my close stories, I mean, that's nuts. Man. I mean, I think when you do approach things like that with that arrogance, like I have before on things, and then you find yourself upside down, holding on for dear life, going, oh shit.
And I was on there for almost 2 miles. I was just hanging on that raft, just continuous white water. I was just hanging on that darn thing. Yeah.
No broke bones, no nothing.
I was, it's like I was a football player.
All right.
I banged myself up.
Them rocks didn't see shit coming.
44 stitches. I got stitches. I didn't get any stitches or anything like that, but he ended up cutting his shin pretty good when he came out and hit a rock. But that's on video too. Oh yeah.
Now, were you still behind the desk at the time?
Yeah, I was still behind the desk.
How long after that?
No, you know what? I was a full-time guide that year.
Yeah, that year.
Here's what happened. I had come back up after working in Florida, Maryland, and North Carolina. The company I was working for was I was just at my wit's end with them doing the underground storage tank work. So I decided to take a break and leave the company and go raft guide for a year straight and travel with my buddy Steve.
Oh, I love it.
Who taught me all this stuff. And I traveled. We were hit a lot of states and we went to Costa Rica that year for my first time going there.
And if you never jumped through that fear, you'd have never done that.
Exactly. So I took a year and just guided, and then went back to Ohio, where I originally am from, and got a job back in the environmental consulting business.
You get back to what you know, right?
I knew it, but I made more money doing that. If I can make, and this is my goal here, if I can make money guiding to live a fun, good life, and again, I think a lot of fear is people, they don't want to lose money. They don't want, money is your tickets to get things you wish to. To me, it's not about the big house or anything like that. I need
We
the
need
money
rafting
to go do
equipment.
these things.
It's the quality of life.
Things,
Right.
to go do more fun things.
Right.
And so it's always been that. And by having a career, getting a college degree and getting, which what a lot of us do when we go into that field, that's what I was good at. And I enjoyed my work. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it at the time. It just got to the point where I'm done here. I'm not making myself grow in this business. The only way to make myself grow in this business is to start a business in this business. And if I start a business in this business, then all my time will be in that business. It's not going to be out having fun. So I want to make my fun. I want to make my life doing a business of enjoyment, and it's always been part of it too is helping others. Helping others, come to that conclusion.
To find that inspiration,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's what I was going to ask you: is when did you know you want to be a therapist? Walk me through that one.
Well, when I got my bachelor's degree, I got a bachelor's degree in psychology. So I always wanted to go back and actually get my PhD. And then I met Tony, and then next thing you know, you're married, and next thing you know, you have kids. And then I ended up in pharmaceutical sales. And don't even ask me how that happened. Just friends of friends, and everyone else told me I should be in sales versus, I ran group homes. That just wasn't me.
But for me though, that's where the experience comes to the therapist, man. When you've been in the trenches, you can reach people and talk to them and meet them, I think, on a different level,
Right.
and get into
Well, I've
it.
definitely worked in inner city clinics before, doing like the group homes, those type of things. But the group home, I got a little bit too physical. Like I was throwing down flights of stairs and stuff like that where I was like, I'm done.
I'd rather take on Class 5 whitewater rafting.
Exactly. That's my choice. I didn't have to throw down the stairs.
Is that the
Yeah,
rationale?
exactly. So I got into pharmaceutical sales, and
I love it.
then let's see. So my husband died in 01, and then in 05, just something happened with my heart. It had a lot to do with religion. Just a lot of things were changing in me, and I didn't like kind of where I was at. I needed change. And I was in this women's Bible study. I remember talking with them like, there's something going on. I need to change something, and I can't stay doing what I'm doing because I wasn't in the right spot anymore.
How long did that last?
Hmm?
How long did we sit in the need to change?
Probably about 6 months because I went through different phases too, where some depression.
Life happens.
Yeah, and I even took a little time off work just because I was like, I have to figure out what my mind, body, soul, it's telling me something. And
Right.
that I was like, I've always wanted to be a therapist. Let's just go back to school and do it. And so I went ahead and interviewed some other people too, like, do I want to go back for my PhD or whatever. That's why I decided going back with.
You scouted the river.
Right. So I went back with the master's in social work. Because basically I could reach the same goal as far as the independent license and all that with a lot less amount of time.
Right.
At that point too, I think my kids were like, I don't know, 8 and 10. So I had to factor that in there too, in studying and
So
trying to get through
we
school.
have a single widowed mother with 2 kids who goes, my life's going to change.
Right.
So no excuse to anybody out there who goes, well, yeah, but we make the changes.
Right, and just make it happen. That's something I really, really wanted. Was it easy? No. I remember trying to write all those papers and everything, like, everyone needs to be quiet. But, you just keep on pushing through it, and then what amazes me too, you look back, you're like, God, those 2 years are already over with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting here now. That's one thing I always try to tell my kids too. It seems really deep when you're in the middle of it, but once you pop to the other side, it's like, wow. But if you feel the perseverance and keep
How does
pushing
that
through
correlate
it.
to rafting?
Well, because you make it to the end of the pull out.
It seems kind of rough when you're in it, right?
Exactly.
Then it's like, that was 2 minutes, and you're done.
Yes.
Anything that we can do at Cognitive Rampage to help Adventure Therapy get out there and get known, we're willing to do here.
I appreciate it.
Anything, because, you're talking, I wish we could remove all of the concrete. And let's just start over,
Right.
and try. Well, we have a serious population reduction.
Just
It's serious, but it's the world we live in, and some people would even argue that the city is nature because it comes from us and we build it. Doesn't move me like the water and sunset, so okay.
Right.
But I try to encourage most of the people that I work with too, when we talk about purposeful structure and I organize that in their life, picking what I call a primal activity. And finding this one primal activity that you may not even have some competence in or be confident in, or you may be already. But the idea is to take that little interest you may have and grow it through competence and get yourself to competence so you can be enthusiastic about this primal activity. Because for me,
like fishing for us, we're not really familiar with it yet, but I'm like, I want to try that.
Yes. You do, and it recenters you, in finding your place. And for some, even if it's just a simple walk down the beach or a walk in the dog, I mean, when you're outside, take a moment, put the fucking screen in your pocket, take the goddamn earbuds out of your freaking ear, and look. Just look what's around you. And
that goes back to mindfulness too, which I think is crucial for us to be teaching our clients too. I mean, that helps with anxiety, helps with everything. And I think that's key for us to walk the walk when we talk the talk.
Agreed.
I was in Chicago a couple weekends ago, and I'm walking through this park by myself, going to meet some friends for dinner. I'm smelling this like flower. I'm like, what is that flower? I'm still looking on through the park. I'm like, Susan, stop. Like, look around. Where's that smell coming from? There's these beautiful lavender trees. I'm like, or bushes. I'm like, wow, just take that minute and say, it smells good, that's where they're located at, they're beautiful. And then kind of move on. Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, I wasn't late for dinner. It wasn't like, so what does it take just for that moment just to kind of be there? And be in the moment.
I talk a lot about that urgency, and this fear, we build this artificial urgency, and I think it has to do with this artificial fear of this time factor, this time management. We have to be here.
Which our society now is.
Oh, I got a text. Oh, the phone's ringing. Hold everything.
Right.
Oh, got an email. We respond to these technology dings like cattle to feed.
Right, I do
robots.
Yeah, we do. We operate that way. And go ahead.
I think, you heard me discuss this with somebody before, it is a cultural, something in our culture now, what these devices have done. I was at a college campus getting ready to inspect a building that was going to get torn down. But I was in a building to meet not an administrator, but a maintenance guy. So I went through the building, and it was right before classes were beginning for the year, but kids were there looking at lists, trying to get their classes, I guess. And none of the kids were talking to each other.
Yeah.
They all had their devices, they all had their phones out, and they were all with their buds in, and they were all, and I thought that was the weirdest, because
it's a form of isolation.
Communicate with each other.
It's a form of isolation.
Yeah.
It really is now, and I don't want to get it twisted that I'm a technology fan.
Oh, I love technology.
Like the fact I can hit a button and see if somebody's bullshitting me.
Right.
I can Google something and be like, bullshit.
I'm gonna get that thing away from me when I have another interest in that.
Yeah, it's Tim Ferriss. The Tim Ferriss show is an amazing guy. Guinness Book World Records, Taekwondo guy, Princeton guy, business guy. Just an amazing guy.
He's one that did the 4-hour work week.
Yes,
I know all about it.
Yes.
He can.
That is one of my virtual
dance,
mentors.
No, me too. No, he's.
Yes. Yeah.
How did him read the book?
He's something else.
Isn't he? So
the whole dancing contest thing.
Yeah, the spins, right?
Yeah.
Well, and he talks about how he takes, I think it's Saturday, he takes one of his days, and it's screenless day.
Good.
And it's no email, no nothing. You put the screen down one day, recenter. I got to figure Sunday you got to prep for the week coming. But pick that one day, and go screenless.
Saturday.
Because I loved his approach is if we like something so much, by withholding it from ourselves, we remember why we enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put it down one day or you turn the TV off one day, when it is the day, you're like, you know what, I enjoy this shit. We don't just get accustomed, to what it is we're experiencing.
Take it for granted.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's definitely.
Like, I never want to get accustomed to these beautiful palm trees, sunsets, the ocean.
And I don't know where it's going to lead, but I'm just relating to you what I see when I saw that instance, and it hit me. There is a change, because when I remember getting ready for class, you were talking with everybody you knew. Hey, do you know about this class? This professor. You were.
I'm the last one in the hallway going, get in the class, because I'm still talking, or I'm flirting. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's so important what you all are doing. I really do. I could not be more of a fan, and take the torch, because I don't run Primal Nature anymore. It's gone. That's why there's no coincidences. You walk in, and anything that we can do to push what you do, to get people to nature. It's where we fucking came from.
Yes.
And you gotta go home. You gotta find your place in nature somewhere, whether you're an earth element, water element, wherever you find your place. I think that's key, and I'm just glad you all are doing that, and somebody's doing it. So hang out here for a little bit.
Sure.
We'll keep chatting a little bit, but I appreciate everybody joining me tonight on the Cognitive Rampage. We'll chat a little bit more. For the followers of Cognitive Rampage, the extended episode you'll see after we shut this one down. But again, I appreciate you joining me tonight. And, I think, you know what? I'll let the two guests do the kind of walk-off word. Something just to remind the guests, what to do. Something in life or whatever. Leave with a parting word of wisdom,
Life's an adventure in living.
Right. Well, our slogan for our company is "Life is adventure, make it happen."
Make it happen.
Own that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's important. Life is an adventure, and we have to be enthusiastic about our life and be willing to learn and try new things. And nature is an important piece of who we are and what we come from. So I urge everyone out there, find that place, find your place in nature, visit it often, put the screen down once in a while, recenter yourself, because it'll feed you, and nature will definitely feed you. So I appreciate you joining me tonight on the Cognitive Rampage. We're going to go ahead and shut this down for the live viewers, but stay tuned if you're a follower. We'll keep chatting.
So now, if I wanted to this cast where you guys just did, if I wanted to see that to people like on Facebook for my Adventure Therapies,
we'll definitely end up spreading out. We'll end up sending it out to all the social networks that we have. We'll end up broadcasting out some more. If you want to make this a regular thing on the show, I'd love it. To where we'll develop some people. I know there's some nature fans. We'll grab it, and I'm sure I'll get some things on it. But we'll eventually get it down.